Back to the point you were making about the credit and the gratitude that we owe to you and others who have worked in this field for so long. I think the absence of a terrible nuclear event in the security space is something that we have to be really grateful for and honor. And it's a tough thing to work in a field where the absence of something terrible going on is a sign of success, but plainly it is, as well as you say, the raising of awareness and the work to affect popular culture. And for decades, MacArthur has been working with grantees in this field, and we owe that universe of people an enormous debt, including you, of course. And at the same time, it is necessary for there to be change in a field, and that's true in terms of the funding community as well. But in terms of the people who are working in it, I think you have been right at the vanguard of helping to diversify and to make more equitable, make more inclusive the field of nuclear non-proliferation and studies and activism. And it's consistent with the work that we're doing at MacArthur Foundation, both internally within our own staff and seeking to do so effectively within the fields we work. We call it the Just Imperative, and that too is on our website as a commitment to the world. And I'd just be curious where you think things stand in terms of meeting some of those goals for diversity and equity and inclusion field-wide, and some of the things that you think have been most promising. You mentioned, of course, the network building you've been doing, but I'd be just curious about your state of play and where you think things are heading in the nuclear field.
So I'm going to answer your question, but maybe in a slightly circuitous way, if that's okay. What I want to say is that when we first engaged in this community, I think we noticed a habit of mind, which was if only more people were paying attention, and if only we had more money, we could make progress. And the way we've come to talk about that is if only we had a bigger megaphone and a bigger bag of money, we could solve the problems we face relating to nuclear risk. And to be honest, I think it's been our sense that that is only a partial analysis. I'm not saying it doesn't matter that the funding climate has changed so dramatically. It does matter. And I'm not saying that it doesn't matter that the public isn't paying attention or isn't more engaged, because obviously that matters. But that's only part of the equation. Part of the diversity question in my mind is whether or not there's sufficient cognitive diversity. And I'm not using this as an out, not to talk about other forms of diversity. I'm going to come to that. But there really has not been a history of tremendous cognitive diversity in this space. And that's why it makes sense from our point of view that the natural next step in our work actually is about Horizon 2045. So we have really defined for our purposes cognitive diversity as being a way to get at other forms of diversity, including diversity about family of origin and cultural diversity and ethnic diversity, all of which I think informs how we solve problems and how we think about the world around us. So Horizon 2045, just to come back to this and sort of close this loop, Horizon 2045 started with a narrow but fraught framing of a problem, which was around nuclear deterrence theory. Now, that's a deeply flawed, unproven, and very risky theory. The cost of failure is incalculable. It could signal the end of all life on the planet as we know it. We need an alternative story about how we're going to manage the world that we have today and the world that we will have in the next 20 years, and how we will live into our responsibility for managing all of these interconnected systems. So at the very core of Horizon 2045 is diversity in all its expressions, including diverse forms of intelligence and knowledge, diverse problem spaces. We're drawing on all those other dynamics that I talked about with N Square, but the main thing we're doing is setting up opportunities for collisions between different ways of thinking, and some of that is about different geographic location and the politics of different geographic locations. And some of it has to do with the politics and the interplay between different domains of thought. What does it mean to bring climate activists together with peace builders? What does it look like when we're building shared processes between peace builders and nuclear people? Or what is the role of democracy in all of that work And how do our different cultural models inform how we think about democracy and the effects that we could have if the effects of a decline in democracy internationally? So I hope I've answered the question. We do our very best with small teams to ensure that we have ethnic and cultural diversity, but it's all in service of a deeper commitment to how we think about the world around us.